to answer the questions we talked about. Thank you, team members. Please help us reach out to group 3 and 4. We want everyone downstairs. Thank you so much. I know it's been engaging, it's been insightful, and some of the conversations, I can see the passion with which some persons are contributing. It seems like we want more time. But please, thank you all for your cooperation. Yes, I can see group 3 coming down. I hope group 4 is also coming down as well. Let's all realign and see how to close out on today's session. Group 2, thank you so much. So please, I hope we all enjoyed our session. Did we enjoy the breakout session? Okay, if we did, please put your hands together for yourselves and also the facilitators. Please can we put a round of applause for everyone who participated, and that is you. So please put your hands together for yourself. Thank you. So for group 1 looked at what are some innovative ways we can increase the analytic capacity and capability of the early warning system. And the facilitator for group 1 is Mr. Kunle Awojemila from the Federal Ministry of Environment. Please can we put our hands together for Mr. Kunle as he comes up on stage. Group 1, can we celebrate your facilitator? Thank you. We can be more generous with our claps. Thank you. Okay, so for group 2 answered the question, how can we improve the capacity to support locally tailored climate analytics and information services? How can we improve the capacity to support locally tailored climate analytics and information services? And the Chief Meteorologist NIMET, Mr. James Ijampi, was the facilitator for that session. Please, can we put our hands together for Mr. James as he comes up for the summary and to give us the feedback from that session. Please, can we celebrate him? We can do better. Thank you. Thank you. So Group 3 looked at what are existing national climate early warning infrastructure and what ways can we align for improved regional impact. And Group 3 had Mr. Godwin Okunwa as the facilitator. Please can we put our hands together for Mr. Godwin Okunwa as he comes up to give the summary from Group 3. Can we put our hands together for Mr. Godwin? Please, we can sit. We can, we have the seat, so I don't keep you standing. Oh, yes, please, you can use the seats and yes. And when it's time for your presentation, you can decide to come up here or you sit to also give your presentation. Do we have Group 3 representative here already? Okay, incoming. So while Group 3 rep is coming up, let's make welcome from Group 4. Group 4 looked at in what ways can we enhance early warning system operational governance through interagency cooperation and regional collaboration. And we had Mrs. Iyabo Mustafa from the Federal Ministry of Agri and Food Security as the facilitator for that group. So can we put our hands together for Mrs. Iyabo Mustafa as she comes up on stage to share the summary from Group 4. Please, Group 4, can you celebrate your facilitator? Thank you so much. Group 3. Okay, he went. Okay. So while we wait for Mr. Godwin from Group 3, we can have Group 1 give us the summary, the answers, the summary of the discussion from Group 1. So ladies and gentlemen, each of the group facilitators have 5 minutes to share the summaries and key takeaways from their session. And after each group has given the summaries and key takeaways from their session, if we have the audience, if you have any question for each of the group that you were not part of, You can ask the question and then they would provide answers. Okay, I see Mr. Godwin is here. So because he deserves a round of applause, please once again, can we put our hands together for Mr. Godwin Okunwa as he comes up on stage, representing Group 3. Thank you. So Group 1, over to you.
Thank you very much. Please, can you come so that you can, maybe you turn a bit like this, or you come up, so at least they can see. So that maybe where I can see it and they can see it too. Thank you very much. A summary of our discussion in Group 1, where we talked about innovative ways to enhance the capacity and capability of early warning system. We are all in agreement that first, there should be a clearinghouse for all data, and which is in alignment with what this program is all about. That whatever data is generated by any MDA, any agency involved in climate services, there should be a clearinghouse where those data should pass through, so that we know that when that data is quoted by that agency or by that organization or by that body, it is taken that it's a standard and it's something that can be quoted anywhere. Then 2, we looked at the situation where most data are maybe high-tech, generated by NIMED, Ministry of Environment, and most of these are sort of top-down. So one of the new things that we think that can be done, or maybe that has not been done very well, is to have some of this data generated from the bottom. We have bottom-up data generation. In this wise, we are looking at the locals, the farmers, people in different places, having the ability to be able to get data across to these agencies or to feed into systems that have been designed. For instance, in the Ministry of Environment, we have what we call the Community Flood Vanguards. These are people in villages, in very remote areas. What they do, we install some things there, some equipment there. They take readings. We teach them how to take those readings. Then we supply them with maybe phones. Then maybe this time around, maybe we give them maybe Android phones or any other equipment with which they can take this data or write it and send it up. And when it sends up, it gets to the central hub where it is now analyzed. Then 3, open source data, maybe data from maybe Landsat, WMO, and every other sources that we can get data from. Then 4, the need to build the capacity for data analysis, data forecasting, not only for those who have been trained in that aspect, those who are in the rural areas, the locals too. As we are building capacity for statisticians, analysts in NIMED, Environment, NISA, and other hydrologists, capacity too should be built for the locals so that they will know what data they should generate, how it should come in what format. So there's a need to build capacity all through, from bottom to top, top to bottom. Then, in the same way, the capacity for analysis, for forecasting, and dissemination, that capacity should be across board. Then, it is realized that there are data existing in different places, different MDAs, different locations. If you all remember the ADPs of those days, if we still go to those places, we still have data in all those places. So these are data that's been lying down that has mostly maybe have not been used, nobody is calling on them. So for early warning system, we are asking that as a new innovative way, we should go back to those structures that have been used It might be a very long time ago, but then we go back there, see if we can get those data. When we bring those data, we factor into whatever model we are going to develop. And investment in climate digital tools, AI, and all that. There's a need to have more investments in that. And then also investment in infrastructure, latest infrastructures that can gather this data for us. And like we were thinking of having a map room, a place where we have live maps, self-updating maps, and all that. So thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kunle, and the rest of the team one. Once again, please can we put our hands together for them? Remember, they're answering the question, what are some innovative ways we can increase the analytic capacity and capability of early warning system? And you agree with me that some of those strategies they shared were quite innovative. And if we have questions or other contribution, the floor would be open for that. We'll move straight to group 2, who answered the question, how can we improve the capacity to support locally tailored climate analytics and information services? We have Mr. James. Thank you. Can we put our hands together for group 2, please?
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. The group 2 looked at how can we improve the capacity to support locally tailored climate analytics and information services. And we had a great team composed of practicing farmers, somebody representing from a seed company, the ministries, and also NIMET. Importantly, we look at this capacity. We look at capacity building and access to information. Now, looking at capacity building, we look at the local level. How can we should start by building the capacity of the rural people on those climate information. They need to understand what are those climate information first. Thereafter, we can now look at co-designing with them, having them at the center of all of our activities. Because when you're developing a tailor-made product for a community, even within the community, their needs may differ. So we'll do like a need assessment for the crop farmers, the livestock farmers, those in fisheries, and the rest. Because if temperature is what is important to the livestock man, the man in crop production might be rainfall. So we need to do like a need assessment. And also, in terms of ideas of how to build their capacity, we say we can leverage on existing institutions like the Farmers Field School. We have some of them in Nigeria. We can use cooperatives. We can use some of the examples the farmers are. They have, like the dairy farmers, they have the processors and the off-takers. We can use their own system to reach out to them and help build their capacity there. Then, looking at the multidisciplinary working group, how do we involve everyone in designing multidisciplinary, including the farmer? Because at the sub-national, because what we do right now is at the national. We sit down, we do this, and how can we improve this thing at the sub-national so that at the sub-national, they'll be able to take some important decision there. Then we look at access. How can they access this information? Which is, we've been doing a lot of work in our different agencies and the rest, but it's still within the hands of a very few. So, and the ideas, they mentioned radios. How do we scale the use of radios, SMSs, use of flyers, animation, and even developing manuals? It's key for disseminating this information. How can we convert even this information to usable or actionable products? For example, if instead of me to say it's going to be 41 degrees Celsius tomorrow, why can't I use the word poultry farmers? Reduce your stocking density because it will affect poultry for you to reduce losses. He can relate to that than 41 degrees Celsius. So converting that information to usable format. Then somebody talked about use of traditional institution for communication, and our religious leaders and youths, they can be effective. So we should use all of those approach, use the traditional leaders and the religious leaders. This is very, very important because some of these things, if you communicate most people go to mosques and churches, and there's information about impending hazard or usable information. They believe more in such institutions. Then the languages. How can we convert it to local languages, this information? It should not end at English and probably Yoruba. We can bring it down to the very local dialect for them to relate with it. And we need to train also the producers for feedback. The producers, the users, and the enablers. There should be a feedback mechanism, because if you want to do a tailored product and you don't get feedback, you cannot improve on them. So we should design, the project should have a feedback mechanism so that when you get this information, you can improve on your tailored services. I think I have captured most of it. And the use of extension is key, both public and private. Both public and private extension institutions, we know our public extension is going down, but we should also look for the private extension. We have a lot of them, even within this room. So we should leverage on those information. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I hope I did justice on behalf of this group. Thank you, and thank you, ma'am.
All right, you can see from the resounding applause that you did excellently well. And can we also put our hands together for Group 2 for all their generous contribution to that question? So we'll move swiftly to Group 3, and they are answering the question, what are existing national climate early warning infrastructures, and what ways can we align for improved regional impact? And the facilitator is Mr. Godwin Okunwa. Can we put our hands together for him? Thank you.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Good afternoon to all of us. My group, we are to look at what are the existing national climate early warning infrastructure, which is a part, and what ways can we align this for regional impact. So what we did was to look at the two. The first one is the Group 3, members of Group 3, we look at the infrastructures and the agencies that house them. We have, number one, we identify NIMET as producers of seasonal climate prediction that gives us the outlook of climate for the year. Then we also have annual flood outlook, which is produced by NISA. We also have the agency, other agency, environment, which has flood early warning for daily. They have web-based, and they have automated. According to them, it covers 302 communities in Nigeria. And they have the automated flood early warning system also. They have automated flood early warning system and coastal early warning system. So those are the infrastructures. Now coming to the Ministry of Agric. The Ministry of Agric also had 10 automated weather stations that captures daily, weekly, and monthly weather parameters for agric. So these are the infrastructures these are the agencies that have these different infrastructures that help us to talk about climate and weather outlook. Then we also have some policy documents like NEMA. At the end, after all these agencies that have their predicting documents come out with their products, NEMA gathered them and also produced a climate-related disaster preparedness mitigation strategy. They produced the strategy for us to implement, and the environment as well also has national erosion and flood control policy document. These are the infrastructures that we have that can help early warning dissemination. Then the other one is now how does this make impact? It's just like we have food well prepared by a particular person. Now, he puts the food on the table. On the dining table? We need people to eat this food. Because if you prepare the food and you put them on the dining table and nobody to eat it, your effort in buying, going to the market, buying all those are made like they are useless. So we now sat down and sat together and said, number one, since we have NIMET, we have NISA, we have environment, we have agric, bringing up this, having this infrastructure, we can have data sharing. We should have a data sharing. They should prepare for the project. Should consider bringing them together to help us to share data. The data the agric has, since it's for early warning, the one for NISA and NIMET, they're already doing it. So it's just to incorporate environment and agric to come together and give us a stronger early warning that will help improve our response or impact situation. Then also we need to have a central data system. If this data can be, if they share the data and they have it in a place that it can be accessible, it's not about the person that does it best. It could be in NEMA, it could be environment, it could be in NIMET, it could be in environment, it could be in any other agency. Then the other part for impact sake, we identify that we should identify the groups that needs this information for impact sake, then improve on early warning information dissemination through radio, jingles, town hall meetings, via SMS, farmers cooperative, town hall meetings. Those are the people that can help us take this information to the group that has been identified that needs this information. Then we also need to build the capacity of local persons in the local communities to be able to understand and use. Because if we write these things and we pass it to the local people and they don't understand it, or the people you pass the information to doesn't understand that when he's eating the food, he needs to take water, there will be a problem. I'm just breaking it down so that we understand. So that is how we think. So then we also consider that there should be a dissemination of early warning information in local dialects to break it down. Local, you see, when you say language, we have Hausa, we have Yoruba, but within all these communities, we have dialects. So if you break it down to the dialect, like our brother was saying, 40-something degree Celsius. So when he was saying it, he interpreted it in another way that will make meaning to the farmer. So that is it. Like when they also came to NEMA, they went to tell us that early onset, when they talk about onset, it's different from when the rain starts falling. So those little things, they are necessary for people that will use it to understand. And the last one, because I can see my moderator behind me, building the stakeholders' capacity on models and methods of early warning information dissemination. We are bringing NIMET, we are bringing NISA, we are bringing environment, we are saying, okay, produce a national early warning that will have impact. They will have to have a model. There will be a method. So they have to be trained, like the one we have in Senegal. They have to sit down, give us a pattern, give us a format that this information or data, information they are going to pass, the format it's going to be. So it will make it better. Because of time, we could not go further. So this is the all we have been able to put together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Godwin and the rest of Group 3. Once again, please can we appreciate them? The last but not the least breakout session looked at in what ways can we enhance early warning system operational governance through interagency cooperation and regional collaboration. And we had the facilitator as Mrs. Iyabo Mustafa. Please can we put our hands together for her as she comes up to give the summary in 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, moderator. Yeah. Just like he has earlier on said, the title of our own topic is, in what ways can we enhance early warning system operational governance through interagency cooperation and regional collaboration? I just will give a very few insights into this. For example, we have a collaboration with the MOU where we have our weather station. I think somebody mentioned issue of weather station here already. We have our weather station. We're looking at handing it over eventually to NIMET because they have that capacity to collect the information and interpret it, but we don't have it, but we are only assisting them with that infrastructure. So these are type of arrangement we're talking about. So there were some points that were identified in our group. Take, for example, the first one is stakeholder mapping. This is very, very critical. You need to know your stakeholders. You know who you want to be on board and those people that will be bringing in information, data, and all stuff for you to be able to implement your early warning. Those ones are very critical with regard to you having an interagency collaboration. And after the stakeholder mapping, you look at you developing a framework. When you develop a framework, you know where you're going to, you know what you want to do, all those things will be included in your framework. Then we also went forward in identifying promotion of data sharing and exchange among the regions. You collect your information, but not limiting it to only the state. You have regions surrounding you, which your data could also affect, and theirs could also affect you. So you need them to also come on board for you to be able to use part of those data. So giving an example is the Agromet, just like Dr. earlier on stated. We also bring them on board for us to rely on some of their infrastructure, information, and data in formulating our early warnings. We also identify establishment of coordinating mechanism. This will create formalized structure for communication and coordination between agencies. Those agencies must have to work hand in hand. They must have to understand the goal. They must have to understand that this is our target, this is what we want. But it's not going to be good enough for each of the agencies to be working in a different direction. Most especially that you're bringing in the information and data into a particular port that will be utilized by the whole country. So we want a situation where all of them will be coordinated in same direction. We also identify capacity building. I think I'm discussing my group because I think I had some input to this. So we're looking at issue where those people that were, the stakeholders that are being identified their capacity will be built in collecting some of this information. We know we need that. There should be capacity strengthening. Those people that have been identified, those institutions their capacity must have to be strengthened. Then regular communication and exchange of information. This is very critical. You must have to communicate. You know, when you communicate, there's a lot of things coming up. You understand each and every one of yourself that this is what we want, this is what we expect. So in regular communication, you have those information coming out. We have evaluation and monitoring. There should be time-to-time monitoring of the system so that you know that you are going the right direction, because there's no how. Monitoring and evaluation is very critical in any project. We need to have things on evaluation and monitoring. So to conclude, I think the community is very, very germane. Those communities should also be part of these agencies we're talking about. The community should be part in taking decision, in driving most of those information. They are the ones that will be able to communicate better in spreading some of the things that have been identified along the line. So I think at this point, I think my teammates have been able to capture what we're discussing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Iyabo, and the rest of Team 4. Once again, please put your hands together for them. And this time around, with a lot of energy and with a lot of smiles on your face, can we put our hands together for all the facilitators from Group 1, 2, 3, and 4. Thank you for your wonderful contribution and also, having to dissect those questions. So right now, we want to open the floor briefly to take few questions from the audience for them. So based on the questions they answered and the presentation they made, if you have any question or contribution, please, can I see your hand up? Okay, number 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I think that's all. So please, can we hand over the mic to number 1? tell us your name again. Okay, this is your second time asking, but then your name, your organization, and then direct your question to any of the panelists. Okay. Okay. Please, I would want you to just go straight to the point with your question. Thank you.
It's not much of a question, but it's up to groups 2 and 3.
Okay.
Once again, I'm going to talk from the livestock angle. You see, early warning weather information system in livestock production, essentially from livestock, we look at it as part of our prophylaxis. That is production to prevent disease. And, you know, in Nigeria here, we recognize 2 or 3 weather conditions: rainy season, dry season, and maybe harmattan.
Harmattan, yeah.
But here we are talking about 5, 2 of them being transition periods. Group 3 mentions something like you reduce your population or you, no. We feed in livestock according to the dictates of the weather. The 2 transition periods, we are in one now, which is the dry and hot. From here, we are going into the humid and hot. And that's when we have the first few rains. It's humid, it's hot. That one takes us into into the wet season. After the wet season, we have another transition period, which is dry and very humid. And that's where you see a lot of people going to hospitals, just like now. So in livestock, we want to be very smart with what we feed during these various periods of time. Thank you very much. It's just a contribution to strengthen what groups 2 and 3 have presented.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, can we put our hands together for him for that wonderful contribution? Number 2, you have the floor.
My name is Kayode Daniel with Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security. My question is for Group 3, where I think Mr. James in NIMED probably might be able to give an answer to this. We all know the issue that happened in southern Kaduna around Koi Kafancha axis. There was this outbreak of, they had issues with their ginger. So I was in the opinion that would it not be better for NIMED to have what I call disease surveillance system, whereby they can deploy system to curb the issue of crop disease and pest infection. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So, Mr. James, you would answer that later. Let's have number 3 and number 4. Please just take note of the question. Number 3 is over here, please. And then we'll have number 4 there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My question is this. What is the corresponding action very necessary to curb the effect of an adverse climate effect monitored and published by NIMED? Is it better to apply control measures or to provide subsidy? Because what is happening here is that there's going to be flood, and the flood will actually come. At the end, you carry food to the people that experience the flood. There's going to be serious heat radiation, and the heat will come. Maybe you take people to the hospital. What can we do when we monitor these things and see that they will happen? What are the likely things we can do to curb the effect rather than providing subsidy when they had happened? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for that question. I'm sure it is also directed to Mr. James. Let's have the 4th question. That's over there. But any of the panelists can also add to any of this question.
All right, thank you so much. My name is Patience Brimo. I work as a program officer at African Food Chain Makers. So mine is basically contribution. So I was going to talk in line with what he has said, maybe because we were in the same group and we were trying to argue that. So for prediction or forecast like this, we want to say that it should not just be for the individuals alone or for the farmers alone. Oh, there's going to be drought next year. Make whatever you want to make with that information as a farmer, or do whatever you want to do with that information as an agri-SME, and so the government just stay and or institutions just stay because they have given out that information already, and then the thing gets to happen and after measures are being taken. How about, for example, a flood has been forecasted for 2025, and we start looking out for measures. Is it building dam systems and all that can collect water, or maybe for droughts, building irrigation and all of that, just to be able to curb that institutionally, not just leaving it for farmers to do that for themselves. And then the other thing I was going to say, which we talked about in our group, I thought it would be very important to also bring it here, is the fact that if people get this information, if farmers get this information and they don't have fundamental knowledge about climate, at the end of the day, it's as though you are speaking Swahili to someone that understands English alone. So we're talking about having a system where people get to understand, even the extension officer you are sending to give out this information and all that, let them have basic understanding. Let them know, if possible, incorporate to the curriculum in schools and all that. Like, I think Amanda mentioned that is this Senegal or somewhere, they have that in their curriculum where they teach people fundamental things about climate, and it's not an alien, because so many people, it's an alien information to them. You're telling them climate, they're asking you what is climate. So that's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Please come and put our hands together to everyone who just asked the question. And over to our panelists, please.
Okay, thank you. I think I took most of the shots. Okay, I'll start with the gentleman that talked about the ginger, the outbreak of disease that affected ginger. So NIMET provide weather and climate information. And within the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, I know you have pest and disease control for both crop, and you even have quarantine. The only thing NIMET can do, if those pests and disease are triggered by climate, then we work, and that's what we do. We work that, okay, we are approaching this threshold. Watch out for outbreak of this. But it is the responsibility of that department in your ministry that are the ones to give you the information and to help. But if the research links it up with any climatic parameter, then it's up to us to now send that information that we are now approaching that trigger, just like we do for malaria vigilance and meningitis. We say, okay, watch out. And that's what NIMET can do. Then in what we currently do, we don't just give the forecast. I'm trying to answer the second question that I talked about. Now, the stakeholders, we have stakeholders, and when you look at the seasonal climate prediction, you have for agriculture, health, water resources, and the rest, how it will affect each sector. And we don't write it. We just produce the forecast, and we invite experts from these sectors to write the implication on their various sectors. Then the last question that he asks about, sir, okay, applying control. So what we do, or what we can do, and what this project can do is not just leaving it at forecast, but as Dr. Diku's and Tufa's presentation talk about anticipatory action and early action. So when we have monitoring, what are the early action? And where there is a forecast, what are the anticipatory action that we can take? And that is what the world is looking towards now. So if we say there's going to be flood, NIMET has done one. Two, what are the measures so that we can minimize the effect of that flood on both the community and livelihood? I hope I've managed to address some of those questions.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have any? Please, you can go ahead.
Thank you very much.
Turn it on.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. To answer the question on when there are predictions and particularly for flood alert. Usually, the first is to create awareness first, even before the alerts. There is an awareness creation, awareness campaign. Currently, the state governors are being told to commence the awareness campaign for 2024, and that's then not only that, for them to move their citizens from flood-prone area to higher ground. Then, when we now issue the alert, we expect NEMA, and that's what they've been doing. We send to NEMA. NEMA does evacuation, and then the one you are talking about, relief materials and all that. But you agree with me, sometimes our people are very stubborn. But the only way to help is continuous education, continuous awareness. Then, apart from that, after the flood, what do we do? In the Ministry of Environment, we do construction of flood-proofing structures. We have retaining walls, we have dikes, and we equally have looked at the issue of flood water harvesting. So these are structures that are built, and presently some are being developed, so that before these things happen, the flood water is harvested. Then during the dry season, the agri people can take over and use it for irrigation, dry season farming. Then you can now have 2, 3, 4 cropping seasons. Then the new one that the ministry is embarking on now is the development of a national insurance flood policy. The national insurance flood policy, which should be by the middle of this year, we should start work on it. It should dissuade people from settling in floodplains. To dissuade people, if you are going to settle in floodplain, you pay very high premium. That high premium will be used for the relief you are talking about. You should pay. If you are going to cause problems even to yourself, you will pay. So that money will be used for infrastructural development, it will be used for relief material, and most importantly, prevent you from causing harm to yourself. Then, NAIC and other insurance companies are going to be part of it to now have maybe crop insurance and the rest. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Mrs. Iyabo.
Yeah, thank you very much. Just to buttress, I'll be very brief because I think we're all tired already. Just to buttress what Mr. Ijampi have said on, when you look at it from the aspect of Federal Ministry of Agric, we have, just like I mentioned earlier, we have a collaboration with NIMET in downscaling to the community level. And that we're talking of farming community level, because we find out that most of those farming activities actually take place in communities. So those downscale are done at the community level. So they do the downscale in such a way that, okay, maybe this year, and over time, you have to agree with me, we are either having flood or we are having drought. By the time the flood is going, you see people shouting, especially the up north, they're already shouting that we don't have water. We can't plant, we can't do this. So in such a situation, as the SCP prediction is out, we now tell them that in fact, you predict to an extent that which crop will be relevant to be planted within this period of planting window. So in doing this, we avert a lot of things, and that's what we're talking about, being smart, being climate smart. So whichever crop you're going to plant, we have to be in line with that particular. If it's early maturing, you go for early maturing. If the weather information given is the normal, you go for your normal seed that you plant. But this helps to guide the farmers in taking decisive decision in their farming activities. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Mrs. Iyabo. And with that, we've come to the end of the session. Please can we put our hands together for our facilitators. Before you go down, we want you to take a group picture. Please just stand for a group picture. The photographers will take that. And while they are taking the pictures, we had him come up on stage earlier to share the project overview why we're here and the impact of the project. Right now, we'll also be calling him back on stage to talk about the next steps. What are the next steps for this project? Put our hands together, ladies and gentlemen, as we make welcome from the Sahel Consulting team, Mr. Chinedu Agbara. Please, can we put our hands together for him?
Good afternoon, all, and thank you very much for the engaging conversations we've had in the group session and also on this panel session. I know, like Mrs. Yabo mentioned, that we are all tired. It's been a long day. We started in the morning. We had all the good messages. We've had all the technical presentations. We had question and answer, the breakout sessions. We've come back to have a recap. I think I've learned a lot. I think, and it's also good, the interest and passion that has been shown by stakeholders in terms of this project. I think we are on the right footing to start strong and also to finish strong. So in terms of next steps of what we'll be doing, we are going to incorporate the feedback from these conversations we've had into the implementation plan. It's very fluid. We keep adapting and we keep improving. Thank you for all the suggestions. If you've not been able to have the opportunity, you can still reach out to my team and also try to talk to us, and we are listening, and we try to adapt and improve the implementation plan. Then we want to schedule the inaugural steering committee meeting, which is the board where everything, the leadership and ownership of the project is going to. It's quite a very challenging group because we need to bring all the high-ranking leaders of the different institutions, and they are very quite busy, but we know how to manage this. Then someone mentioned earlier that we need a baseline report and stakeholder mapping. That will be done next as part of our next steps. We'll be reaching out to each of the different organizations here and those who are also not here, based on what you've mentioned to us. And when we come to you, please also assist by mentioning others that you know other stakeholders you know that we should be talking to. And we'll continue with the implementation. And we think also this is the first gathering. We are going to, over the course of these 3 years, have more opportunities to gather together to reevaluate and evaluate what we've done. So at this point, thank you very much. Let me not keep you long. We are all tired. So back to you, Anne. Thank you.
All right, please, can we put our hands together one more time for Mr. Chinedu and the rest of the Sahel team working on this project. Thank you very much for that. It's still an ongoing project. This is just the first step of so many steps that will still take towards the accomplishment of the goal and the objective of this project. Ladies and gentlemen, we have had an interesting conversation from the beginning. We had the goodwill messages, we had the presentation and also the technical presentations, and as well the breakout session. As we all know, everything that has a beginning definitely has an end. So it is my delight to announce to you that we are almost at the end of today's event. And to give us the closing remark, I want us to put our hands together as we make welcome Dr. Steve Praga, the Senior Programs Officer from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, our partners for this project. Please can we put our hands together for him as he comes up on stage for the closing remark.
Everybody's tired, we've heard that. I'm not going to take much of your time, more than maybe 2 minutes. So first off, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being very candid in this setting. It's absolutely critical that we hear the truth in these types of processes and that we understand where the challenges are, where the opportunities are, and of course, where ultimately the impact is that a project like this can have. So with that, on behalf of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, I'd just like to share our sincere thanks to everybody's time and for your participation. And with that, we can adjourn.
All right, please can we one more time put our hands together for Dr. Steve Praga. Thank you very much. We have come to the end of today's event. Thank you so much. There's one more person, or there's some set of persons, one group of persons that I want us to appreciate. And I want you to please put your hands together for them. And that is for you, each of you that have sat through from morning till now. Please, can you put your hands together for yourselves? We appreciate your time and thank you for your interest in this project. And like Mr. Chinedu has said, this is the first of many other meetings. And I want you to, be open to the invitations and support the project to see that we are able to achieve the aims and objective of this project. I will be heading over outside for the lunch. And thank you so much for your time. And we've come to the end of this event. And see you again some other time. And have a safe journey back to your various destinations. My name is Anne Obizian. I've had an amazing time moderating this event. Thank you very much.